have loved ones with substance abuse issues, it can be really, really challenging to kind of know what to do for yourself, how to protect yourself, how to set boundaries, and most importantly, how to defend boundaries. And this is what I work the most on with people is knowing what and how to set effective boundaries to make them unbreakable. I talk a lot about the unbreakable boundaries. You know, I have a program, I have a podcast called the Unbreakable Boundaries Podcast, and I don't just, pull this stuff from nowhere. I have a lot of resources. I do a lot of my own research. I do a lot of my own work around this. And this is why I love talking about boundaries so much, is how important it's been for me and how important it is for other people. And this is what I will help people on. Like 90% of my clients, this is what they're coming to me for, is knowing how to set and defend boundaries with their loved ones, how to navigate that world. Also, what's going on in the mind of the addict or alcoholic or whatever label that you want to call. If you don't want to label them at all, that's okay too. But these are really important discussions to be having. And I have a lot of resources and I do a lot of my own research. One of the great resources that I've used and one of the great books that I take a lot from, because I found it to be so powerful, is this book right here, is the Boundaries book. And what I didn't know when I first dived into it, I got it because I'm like, well, I got it. I do so much research. Obviously, boundaries is really important. So let me read this. What I didn't know was that it talked a lot about religious connotation. So it goes through Bible verses. No, it's not a Bible. It just talks a lot about developing boundaries and what our perceptions, if you did grow up in the church, and you have this idea that we have to be these loving and supportive people. That is true. But how do we do it as God intended us to do it? And I don't talk a lot about God, but a lot of my clients come to me and have this kind of upbringing or have this kind of perception on what it means. And we want to be good Christians. We do, and even if you're not coming from a Christian background, this book talks just a lot about how do we navigate our relationships with other people in a balanced way. So I'm just going to read the back to you really quickly so you can understand what this book is. Even if you're not coming from, a Christian or religious background, how important it is for these conversations and this development to be happening in your life. People often focus so much on being loving and giving that they forget their own limits. Does that sound familiar? Have you ever found yourself wondering, can I say no and still be a loving person? All we want to do is love them. And sometimes we feel like no is somehow we're rejecting them or we're turning our back on them. And that is not what we're doing. We are being loving to them and for them. How do I answer someone who wants my time, love, energy, or money? And let me tell you, when you're dealing with people with substance abuse issues, they want all of this to an extreme degree. They want it all. How do I stand up to hurtful behavior or abuse? That is what we want to be loving, but we also don't want to accept hurtful behavior. We are rejecting their behavior. We are not rejecting them. And I think that's an important distinction. Why do I feel guilty when I consider setting boundaries? I think that goes to feeling like we're rejecting them in some way and that they take it as not loving, mostly because they'll scream at us, "You don't love me." And that is not true at all. We want to be loving. We just don't want to accept their behaviors or their abuse, and we're not going to do it anymore. So they show you in this book how to set healthy boundaries with your parents, spouse, children, friends, coworkers, social media, and even with yourself. That is so important that you know what your boundaries are, even for yourself. What do you set up for yourself? Just because we have loved ones with substance abuse issues, they are not the only ones we have to set boundaries with in this world. Coworkers, parents, spouses. I've watched this destroys people's marriages. I've watched this destroy the whole family. I've watched people lose houses. I mean, this stuff is crazy. And it's important that we know how to set these boundaries. It says, unpacking the 10 laws of boundaries, Doctors Cloud and Townsend show you how to bring new happiness and health to your relationships. You'll discover firsthand how sound boundaries gives you the freedom to walk as the loving, giving, fulfilled individual God wanted you to be. Even if you're not religious, maybe you have a higher power out there. And the thing is you want to be yourself. You want to get back in touch with yourself. You want to be that loving and giving and fulfilled person that you were always meant to be. And the more of yourself, of you that comes through, not the crap, not the survival mode, not the reactions, not the anger, the resentment, but you as the loving and fulfilled person, the more that you come out, the better off that your loved one is going to be in the long run. And I want you to always remember this one thing. Tough love is not about being tough on them. It's about sometimes making decisions that are tough to do. And what this book will do is how to navigate some of those tough decisions. This book and a lot of other books, I have so many freaking resources, and I've done so much work around this topic about boundaries on how to really help people develop and hold people accountable to the boundaries they are setting so that you can be more of you, so that you can bring the best versions of you into these chaotic situations. Just because chaos is happening around you does not mean that you have to be chaotic. And that's one of the differences, is that you can be grounded and loving and supportive through these chaotic situations that you find yourself in, and that you can be the best versions of you, and you can bring that person to the table when you're dealing with your loved one, because they can just bring the very worst out in us. And I want to help you bring the very best back out in you. So please feel free to get in touch with me. You can go email me at jennifer@maniliconsulting.com. I would love to hear from you. You can also go check out my website, maniliconsulting.com. And please, I look forward to hearing from you.